Chapter 1 of the Tysons. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Expatriate in Bangor, Maine. The Tysons by May Sinclair. Chapter 1. Mr. Nevill Tyson. There were only 2 or 3 houses in Drayton Parva where Mr. and Mrs. Nevill Tyson were received. A thrill of guilty expectation used to go through the room when they were announced, and people watched them with a fearful interest, as if they were the actors in some enthralling but forbidden drama. Perhaps if she had been tried by a jury of her peers. But Mrs. Nevill Tyson had no peers in Drayton Parva. She was tried by an invisible and incorruptible jury of ideas in Miss Batchelor's head. Opinion sways all things in Drayton Parva, and Miss Batchelor swayed opinion. As for Mr. Nevill Tyson, he had dropped into Leicestershire from heaven knows where, and was understood to be more or less on his trial. Nobody knew anything about him except that he was a nephew of old Tyson of Thorneytoft, and had come in for the property. Nobody cared much for old Tyson of Thorneytoft. He was not exactly, well, no matter. He was very respectable and he was dead, which entitled him to a little consideration. And as Mr. Nevill Tyson was an unmarried man in those days, he naturally attracted some attention on his own account, as well as for the sake of the very respectable old man, his uncle. He was first seen at a dinner at the Morleys. Somebody else happened to be the guest of the evening, and somebody else took Lady Morley in to dinner. Tyson took Miss Batchelor, and I don't think he quite liked it. Miss Batchelor was clever, frightfully clever, but she never showed up well in public. She had a nervous manner, and a way of looking at you as if you were some curious animal that she would like to pat if she were perfectly sure you were not dangerous. And when you were about to take compassion on her shyness, she startled you with a sudden lapse into self possession. I can see her now looking at Tyson over the frills on her shoulder, with her thin, crooked little mouth smiling slightly. She might well look, for Nevill Tyson's appearance was remarkable. He might have been any age between 25 and 40; as a matter of fact, he was 36. England had made him florid and Anglo Saxon, but the tropics had bleached his skin and dried his straw colored hair till it looked like hay. His figure was short and rather clumsily built, but it had a certain strength and determination; so had his face. The determination was not expressly stated by any single feature. The mouth was not what you would call firm, and the chin retreated ever so slightly in a heavy curve; but it was somehow implied by the whole. He gave you the idea of iron battered in all the arsenals of the world. Miss Batchelor wondered what he would have to say for himself. He said very little, and looked at nobody, until some casual remark of his made somebody look at him. Then he began to talk, laconically at first, and finally with great fluency. It was all about himself, and everybody listened. He proved a good talker, as a man ought to be who has knocked about 4 continents, and seen strange men and stranger women. You could tell that Miss Batchelor was interested, for she had turned round in her chair now, and was looking him straight in the face. It seemed that he had worked his way out to Bombay and back again. He had been reporter to half a dozen provincial papers. He had been tutor to somebody's son at some place not specified. He had tried his hand at comic journalism at London, and at cattle driving in Texas, and had been half way to glory as a captain of irregulars in the Soudanese war. No, nobody was more surprised than himself when that mystic old man left him Thorneytoft. He thought he had chucked civilization for good. For good. But after his exciting life, wouldn't he find civilization a little dull? Miss Batchelor had a way of pointing her sentences as if she were speaking in parables. Not in the country, there was hardly enough of it there, and he had never tried being a country gentleman before. He rather wanted to see what it was like. Wouldn't it be a little hard if he had never? He thought not. The first thing he should do would be to get some decent hunters. Hunters were all very well, but had he no hobbies? No, he had not. The bona fide country gentleman never had hobbies. They were kept by amateur gentlemen retired from business to the suburbs. Here Sir Peter observed that, talking of hobbies, old Mr. Tyson had a perfect mania.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?